My name is Desiree Chauke, and thanks so much to Sarah for inviting me. They keep inviting me to these wonderful events that I'm not used to, and I come in and I'm like, phew, these learning places, because I usually get invited to some rural areas to go and talk to people, but thank you so much for the invitation. It's truly an honor, and there's a lovely compliment of people here. Happy Women's Day. And whenever I go to a Women's Day event, I'm always tempted to sing the song, and I find people enjoy it. So can we just give it a bash? Igama lama kosigazi, malibongwe. Igama lama kosigazi, malibongwe, malibongwe, malibongwe. I do television work, so I say I have two types of work. My one is the broadcast journalism bit, where I work both for the SABC, and I'm in the process of starting a company called 3619 Concepts that will focus on media and all of those things. That is my work that I do for a living. And then I have my passion work. My passion work is green flip-flops. It's an NPO. I started it as a result of my television work, because when you do on-air work, people assume that you know everything about all there is to know about out there. People think you know what President Zuma's next move is. You know what the weather is going to be tomorrow. In the beginning, I thought it was silly, but with time, I thought, you know what? There must be some value to the sentiment, that there is something to give back in terms of the work that I do. And because of the TV work, I kept getting invitations to come and talk to people. We have an event, we need you to come and talk to people. What am I talking about? You're a celebrity, you can talk about anything. But I kept interacting with people across the board, people who I went to talk to because they were perceived to be in need of motivation. And then, at the other end of the spectrum, I'll talk to people who are extremely confident, very well, very accomplished, and know who they are and what they want to achieve. And every time I had those interactions, the one thing that always came out, and in different ways, was emotions. As you will see, my tagline is emotions do, emotions don't. So I thought about it a lot. I thought, you get NGOs for education, you get NGOs for poverty alleviation. You get a whole range of them, but you hardly ever get something that says, let's deal with you and the soul and how you're feeling today. And I'm going to try something out just now. I usually get into trouble when I do it because everybody says, me too, me too, me too. But for the sake of time, I'm going to ask one person in the room, just by show of hands, and then I'll decide where I go, who can relate a story about something in their lives that either made them do or made them don't, because they felt so strongly about it. It was so strong, it debilitated you, or it was so strong, it pushed you forward. Anybody want to tell a story? Maybe we should have done the cards thing. Because now I'm struggling to choose. All right, no noise. Are we going to have to organize a mic? All right. Please introduce yourself and tell us what your story is. I know, ladies, we're all tempted to want to come up and talk about a whole lot of stuff, but one story for the day, and the whole room where we sort of help you to try and clarify this in your mind and what it is exactly. Okay, I will today. You can stand up. giving you a solution, because eventually the solutions you figure out on your own. Let's go for it.
Okay, my name is Ikahe Mukiga. The story cover and find reasons why. In 2012, in July, I fell pregnant, and I went through the whole journey of being a mother of a 3-year-old at the time, and being a professional woman. And with that, I enjoyed my pregnancy as it went along. I've got a boy and it was a girl. And as I journeyed through that pregnancy, I was also trying to find myself professionally, which I do enjoy. I love my work. I'm enjoying the corporate world, which is still an adventure for me. And with that, towards the end of the term, I wanted to work all the way through so that, you get more time to spend with the baby than you do alone waiting for the arrival. I went home 2 weeks before, everything was still fine. And 4 days before my due date, just in the middle of the night, there goes a storm. And I get pains, I go through, I'm bleeding, I call my gynae. And by the time I get to the hospital, the gynae is not there, we wait for the anesthetist. And during that whole time, I lost my baby. They ran tests, they ran everything. And I still can't find the reason why. But it pushed me forward to try and find a purpose for my life beyond loss, beyond confusion, that sometimes I wake up to and I still think, why? They ran tests, I didn't have high blood pressure, I didn't have depression, I didn't have diabetes, I didn't have anything medical and humanly explainable for what happened. And through all of this, I still try to find a reason. It's pushing me to move forward, because every day as I live my life, I'm saying, God, I don't know why everything happened, but what I know for sure is that you saved my life over hers. And she's at a better place, and I'm living for a purpose. And just this week, for me to raise my hand, is that one of my other friends had the exact same experience. And the only time, and for the first time that I actually got to know her, was at my baby's funeral. And she's going through the same thing, and she's asking me why. How do you live every day waking up and thinking, why? How do you reason? How do you not feel like shouting and screaming at people? How do you answer somebody who's struggling? Oh no, we're sorry, we everything. And just 2 hours before I came here, I was chatting to her on WhatsApp, and I'm saying, you know what? Life is unexplainable. Life has its ups and downs. It's how you deal with your emotions. It's how you stand when you feel like screaming at the person in front of you and just tearing everything apart. And you just carry on and say, I'm going to face tomorrow. I'm a better person. It's not my fault. I'll get past this. And that's how I deal with my emotions. I usually just close up and cry and scream, because it's better for me to do it alone than to the people in front of me. But it's my flip and my flop, and I get through it.
She gets it. Gathe. Ladies and gentlemen, collective hug for Gathe. Sorry for your loss. These are the things of life. And these are the things that flip us or flop us. She gets it. Give her a round of applause. What I try to do, and I hope, I'm surprised that maybe it's because we haven't got to questions time yet and nobody has said, what is green flip-flops? How did you get to there? Because wherever I go, people are asking those questions now. I'm hoping that in 5 or 10 years' time, everybody will know that's green flip-flops and that's what it deals with. And this is what it has done to change society. And these are the interventions. Because I'm sitting here listening to your story, Daphne, and I'm thinking, I need to have a longer conversation with you and find a way, either whether it's psychological or a GP or people who are, because my work is not scientifically based. I just realized a situation and thought something needs to be done about this. So I'm almost like a conduit where we talk to people and we try to find solutions. But more than anything, the big message is awareness of your personal triggers. The emotions that hold you back and the emotions that propel you. And when you have identified the emotions that propel you, try to teach other people about it around you. These are emotions that I have. I'm in conversation with a publishing company about a book. We're going to call it Green Flip-Flops. But the purpose of this book is to have a good 9-10 chapters that are written by different people. I have a lady who's Indian who says to me, Desiree, nobody ever talks about the oppression in the Indian community of women. Everybody sees us out there and they think we look pretty. They don't know what happens behind closed doors, and I want to talk about it. So she's going to write about that. I have a lady who says, I was brought up by my mom, and from a distance I watched my dad have another wife and raise a family, and they were prosperous, and I was never a part of it. And it's a problem, because I can't get past the fact that my father was never there for me. So, you look at a person like Daphne and you think, as a mom, as a wife, as a woman who's also lost a baby, I could tell you 100 things as to what happened. But it may or may not be any of those. So you then say, let's interrogate it. Let's look into it. And if we don't find solutions about it, at least let's talk about it. I want to ask you, Gachin, have you ever spoken about this in a public environment? Is this your first time? What gave you the courage to stand up and talk about it? It's time. How do you feel about it? Do you feel like a victim, or do you feel embarrassed? Do you think there's something wrong with you? That's why you lost the baby?
I don't think there's anything wrong with me, which is what my friend also was saying this morning. She felt like a failure. She felt, people bring children home and we came back empty-handed, so it makes us failures. And I told her, no, we're not failures. We could try to have more children. We're not failures.
But one doesn't replace the other.
No, it
That's
doesn't.
a bit of life.
Yes.
Yes.
It doesn't.
How do you feel now that you have spoken about it?
I feel a lot better, I must say. It's something that I've been holding back, thinking people won't understand and people don't want to hear it, and it's none of their business anyway. They've got their lives, they're busy with their lives. But today I just felt, okay, it's a lot of women, let me just share. Maybe somebody's sitting with a similar thing and they want to share, or they want somebody to talk to. And the reason I went through it might be for me to be there for somebody else and to hold somebody else's hand through the whole thing. So if I share it, more people can then talk about it.
I want to know though, which is the gist of green flip-flops. Is it affecting any area of your life where you find there are things you now do differently, or there are things you just cannot do because of this loss?
Yes, funny enough, it does. It affects my sexual life more than any other thing. I'm on contraception like frantically because I don't want to be pregnant again. When I do have sex with my partner,
And it's not very fresh. I mean, 2010 is like 4 years ago?
2012, 2013.
Oh,
She
sorry.
was 2013.
Okay.
So I'm still very sensitive about that. So I go for long periods without having sex. And when I do, I don't actually, my mind is not even on what I'm
So
doing.
you're over pedantic about it now.
Yes.
Overthink it now. Yeah. Any suggestions in the room? Okay. You and I will have a chat later about. Oh, sorry.
Hi, Desiree. Thank you for this session. This is such a, I feel very strongly about this subject. And thank you for sharing your story. And with a little bit of work that I've been exposed to, I think out of everything you've shared with us this morning, I take with me the fact that you said maybe you went through it so that at some point you help someone else who's either going through it now or who might go through it at a later stage. And this tells me that your road to recovery has begun somewhat. And I do believe, as Desiree has mentioned, that there may be room for counseling or seeking some sort of professional help. But what I would advise is that maybe the people around us, maybe people around you, we realize that we're never going to see angels that have wings that are going to fly in our lives. The angels that exist, that bring newness in our lives and solutions to our lives, are the people around us. So you are that angel for those people that need you, like your friend this morning. You are her angel. So you will find possibly that healing begins with healing someone else. And I think that's a starting point maybe that you might want to hang on to.
That was so well put. Okay. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for finding this space safe enough for you to do so. I think sometimes our belief system, whatever it is, determines how we cope with certain things. I find that I'm not a religious person, I'm a spiritual person. And what makes sense to me sometimes helps me make sense of what's happening. And one of the things in my belief system is we are teachers to each other. And sometimes it's not about us. And sometimes it is about us. Sometimes the souls or human beings that come into our lives, it's either you are a conduit for them to learn something or for you to learn something. So I always look at it, because anything that happens to us, we learn. When you are sharing your story, something happened to my mother on a different level. Yeah? So there are reasons, and sometimes it's not it's kind of like cause and effect. It's not always direct correlation. Sometimes when something happens, it's not logical, but it would have started because of that. So sometimes we shouldn't focus on just that issue. It's the story of our lives. When you look at it as a journey and the different points, that's where the sense will be, and not necessarily around that loss. Bless you. Because if I think as a soul somewhere, I choose my parents, I call my parents a conduit for me to come to the school. There must have been something maybe for your daughter or that soul that kind of maybe was not ready, and it's not about you. So you need to give them the kind of, I don't know if glory is the right word, that they were able to choose, to say, okay, it's not the right, it comes with pain, but it's not the right channel at the moment, or not the right circumstance, or whatever the reason. And I say that because my mother struggles sometimes to cope with why my sister passed. It just, there is no logic when you look at circumstances around it. And the conversation I had with my sister a few days before, and we were talking about something, and because of my belief system, she said, are we fighting? I said, no, we're not fighting. I cannot live your journey for you. I don't know what your soul wants to experience or wants to go through. I can only be your sister and accept it, but I have no idea and I have no control over it. So I don't know if the way I see life may help you. If you look at it outside of this physical body and our understanding and look at it on another, maybe there's and I just think the fact that you met your friend at your child's funeral, for me that's significant.
Thank you.
Thanks, Desiree. I'm now speaking as a woman who also at some stage lost a baby at 7 months, when I was 7 months pregnant. The thing that we often do not recognize as women is that the children that we bear, the children that we get pregnant with and that we have, chose us. Your child chooses you to parent them, to be their parent. And oftentimes we make that mistake of praying the prayer that says, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And when you say this prayer, there's a line in the prayer which goes, let thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. This is more on a spiritual basis. When you pray that prayer, you do not realize as a person that you are actually proclaiming and claiming that you trust, that you want to hand over to God, that His will be done on this earth as it is done in heaven. But when God's will happens in our lives, we often question and say, why? Why me? And the fact that the life that you are carrying is a life that is given to you by the very God for you to raise. But your child as well chooses you to be a parent. That's why you find that women will fall pregnant at the age of 40 something or even 50, when they say when you're that age you can't fall pregnant, and you say, oh my gosh, this is my life lameki, or it's a mistake, it's a wonderful mistake. It's because you are meant as a woman to raise that very child, to give birth to that child, so that you come and impart and let the child grow with the influence that you have when as a woman. So I just want to encourage you and any other woman who might have gone through a painful experience like this, that take it that it is God's will. And your child, like Ututu said, did not choose you at that point in time. You will have your child that will choose you to raise. You were not meant to raise that baby. That baby is gone back to where the baby belongs. But you will have your moment as well, and a child that you will inspire and raise to be a better human being. So take light and take comfort in that you are even not alone. We've all gone through that pain, but we rejoice, and you must say to God, thank you for having given me that chance to experience that pregnancy. Even though I walked back home without a baby in my hand, with all the signs of being pregnant, all the scars, all the stretch marks, with my breast engorged, but at the end of the day, I got through to living that experience, because there are so many other women who would love to have gone through that, and they are not even getting that chance to fall pregnant. They are crying for it. So praise God for that. Amen.
Thanks, Augustine. In fact, I will digress a bit here, but it's still related because I spoke a lot about how I started Green Flip-Flops on the basis of the people I've interacted with and the experiences I've had. But on a selfish level, and I'm referring to Augustine here because she and I started around the same time in the industry. I also started it for selfish reasons because there were times where I felt, you know, I'm this successful broadcast journalist. People know me all over the world. I mean, the other day I was walking in London, and on the other side of the street, somebody went, Desiree, Desiree. And I'm like halfway across the world. But you get that sense when you're by your lonesome self, and you think, what have I done with my life? I haven't accomplished all the things that I needed to accomplish. And it's partly why I started it. I thought, let me deal with these emotions, because on the one hand, I'm feeling hopeless. But on the other hand, the truth is, I have been really blessed. I have achieved so much. And yet, it always feels like, I saw on one of the tables, I think it's our tables, I saw somebody reading Lean In. I don't know if you ladies have read this book. Mm-hmm. It speaks about something called the imposter syndrome. And they say it affects women more than it affects men. Where no matter how much evidence is out there that you have achieved, you still feel, I haven't done enough. Why haven't I done that? Why haven't I done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? So, as much as this mission, I hope, will help me help other people, because it's not necessarily only about women, it just happens to be Women's Day today. I hope it'll help me too, to make peace with the blessings that God has given me. So we'll start that book, but the other thing we want to do is we will have these stories where it's really sad stories, stories of loss and stories of moments where you see God, because you realize, okay, these are the times where no matter what I do, I cannot change or influence the situation. So the only way to do it is to accept and acknowledge that is. But we also want the aspirational stories, where you're saying you've got these things you want to achieve, but there are these emotions that are holding you back. And you can see that I actually can do this, but I'm just scared to open up my mouth and speak up. What is it in there that makes me not stand up and say, I want to be counted too? I'm here. I can do this. So it might not be something that has happened to you, but it might be something that you can see, you can visualize it, but you are just frozen where you are. You can't move. And I would like to encourage you to recognize what it is that is freezing you up and not allowing you to take that first step and breathe out and say, let's go. That's my presentation. Thank you.